It was a hot afternoon in a quiet part of the city. The sun burned in the sky and dust filled the air. Two friends walked fast along the street. One was Nora, a kind and gentle young woman. The other was Brian, her friend, sharp and full of ideas. Nora's clothes were worn out, and her eyes looked tired. She turned to Brian and asked, "Are you sure this place will give me a job?" Brian smiled. "Don't worry, I know the manager there. Just follow me." Nora nodded. Her legs were weak, but she didn't stop. She had no food at home. If she didn't get this job, she didn't know what she would do. As they walked, they saw an old woman ahead. She was very thin and walked slowly. On her head, she carried a heavy bucket of water. Her legs shook, and sweat poured down her face. Suddenly, the woman stopped and called out, "Please, my children, help me. My body is weak." Nora slowed down, but Brian pulled her hand. "Let's go," he said. "We're already late. The manager will leave." Nora looked again at the old woman, whose legs now shook like they might give out. "She needs help," she said softly. Brian frowned. "Mama, why carry this when you're too old?" he snapped. "We don't have time." Nora turned sharply. "Brian, how can you talk like that? She's an old woman. She needs help." Brian folded his arms. "This is not our problem," he said coldly. "We've come too far to stop now." "But what if she falls?" Nora whispered. "What if we're the only ones who will help her today?" Brian didn't answer. He was angry and tapped his file against his leg. "If we miss the manager, don't blame me," he said. But Nora was no longer listening. Something told her this moment was bigger than any job. She walked up to the woman and gave her a warm smile. "Mama," she said gently, "where do you live? I'll help you." The woman looked shocked. "You will help me?" "Yes, Mama. Give me the bucket." Nora lifted the heavy bucket from the old woman's head and placed it on her own. Brian stood back, confused. He didn't understand what was happening. "Lead the way, Mama," Nora said kindly. As they began to walk, something strange happened. The hot sun began to hide behind the clouds. Brian looked up. Something in his chest shifted. It wasn't anger anymore. It was something he couldn't explain. They reached a small, old house. The walls were cracked, but the flowers around it were fresh and well kept. "Is this your house, Mama?" Nora asked softly. "Yes, my daughter," the woman replied. "Please drop the water near that tree." Nora walked over, bent down, and dropped the bucket carefully. Then the old woman said, "Thank you. You're the only one who has shown me true kindness in a long time." She walked into her house and returned with a small, round jar. It glowed faintly in the sunlight. "This," she said, "is a gift. It is a substance that will change your life. But use it wisely, and never speak of it with a greedy heart." Nora was confused but accepted the gift with thanks. Down and placed the bucket carefully beside it. She stood up and wiped her face with her hand. "I'll be going now, Mama," she said. Just as Nora was about to step out of the compound, the old woman called her back. "My daughter," she said gently. "Wait." Nora stopped and turned around. The woman walked closer and held her hand. "Please," she said, "go to that corner over there. You will see a small native pot. Bring it to me." Nora walked to the corner, her fingers trembling as she picked up the small native pot. She turned and walked back quickly, holding the pot with both hands. "Hey, Mama," she said, handing it over. The woman smiled. She held the pot carefully, untied the red cloth, and opened it slowly. Nora leaned forward, her eyes wide. Then the woman brought out something shiny, a bar of gold. Nora's eyes grew wide. She had never seen gold in real life before. The woman smiled and looked at her gently. "You are kind," she said. "People like you are few." She placed the gold in Nora's hand. "Keep it for 7 days. Don't sell it yet. After 7 days, you can sell it and use the money to make your life better." Nora stared at the gold in shock. Then she dropped to her knees. "Mama, thank you," she said, her voice full of joy. "God bless you. I didn't expect anything. I only helped because it was the right thing to do." The old woman nodded and touched her head gently. "Go, "My daughter," she said with a smile, "your kindness will open more doors for you." Nora stood up, still holding the gold tightly, her eyes shining. She turned and walked away slowly, her heart full of thanks. With a big smile on her face, she made her way home. She kept looking at her handbag where the gold was hidden. She wanted to scream, but she held herself as she walked. People looked at her and wondered why she was smiling alone, but Nora didn't care. She was thinking about one person, Brian. "I need to tell him everything," she said to herself. She walked faster, almost running. When she reached the street where Brian stayed, she saw him in front of his house, holding his phone to his ear. Her smile grew bigger. She waved and called out, "Brian!" But Brian didn't wave back. He dropped the phone slowly and looked at her with a hard expression. Nora stopped in front of him, still smiling. "Brian, I have something to tell you," she said. "You won't believe what happened after I left." But Brian raised his hand. "So you left me just like that?" "Nora," he said, his voice cold. Nora's smile faded. "I didn't leave you. I helped the old woman, remember?" Brian shook his head. "I thought you were serious about getting that job. But no, you threw it away just like that. Do you think life is a joke?" Nora looked down. "I know, but you always say you want a better life." Brian interrupted, his voice sharp. "Yet when it's time to act, you run off to play hero." Nora's hands began to shake. "It wasn't like that. Please, let me explain." Brian turned his face away. "There's nothing to explain." "Brian, wait," Nora said quickly. She reached into her handbag with shaky hands. "Just look at this," she added, opening the bag wide. She slowly brought out the bar of gold. The gold shone so brightly that Brian's eyes grew wide. He didn't say anything for a moment. He just stood still, staring at it. Then his voice came out low and sharp. "Where did you get this? Nora, where did you get it? Did you steal it?" Nora's eyes opened wide in shock. "No, I didn't steal anything." Brian took a step closer, his eyes still on the gold. "Tell me the truth. This kind of thing, people don't just find it on the road." "I didn't find it on the road," Nora said softly. "Please, just listen to me." Nora looked Brian in the eyes. "The old woman gave it to me," she said after I helped her carry the water to her house. Brian frowned. "An old woman gave you gold?" "Yes," Nora said, her voice calm now. Her house was old, and she looked poor, but when I helped her, she told me to bring her a small pot. The gold was inside. She said it was a gift for my kindness. Brian was silent. He looked down at the gold, then looked at Nora's face. His lips moved slowly. "She just gave you this, just like that?" Nora nodded. "Yes. She told me to keep it for 7 days before I sell it." Brian didn't say anything. He just kept looking at the gold. Then he slowly licked his lips and smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was a strange smile, one that made Nora's heart beat a little faster. She didn't know why, but something didn't feel right. After Nora left, Brian stayed outside.